This guide is going to cover setting up 3D Vision for displays that don't support 3D Vision. I've created this GitHub wiki here that goes over all the different ways you can install 3D Vision, including the traditional ways using frame sequential, or the 3D TV play, or just anaglyph. We're not going to cover that part today. We'll cover AR glasses and SR displays, which will utilize the old interlaced EDIDs. You can go here to set up a interlaced TV or monitor, but we'll also skip that today. Side by side or top and bottom is part of the process for AR or SR. We also won't be covering VR HMDs today, but those can also work with either Helix Vision, Katanga, or taking in a top and bottom source and converting that to 3D using something like Virtual Desktop. So to get started and have a clean slate, we're going to use Display Driver Uninstaller. I'm going to download the latest here, and we're going to drop this in here. There's the latest one. I'm going to run this. We'll ask for admin. And we want to choose safe mode and then reboot to safe mode. All right, now that we're in safe mode, we want to select device type as GPU, and we're going to click clean and restart. Now that I'm back in Windows, you can either install the NVIDIA driver through Microsoft or download it. I've got mine downloaded, so I'm going to go and install that. Yes. The NVIDIA app can cause some random stuttering, so you may not want to install it. So we'll just choose NVIDIA graphics driver, agree and continue. I'm going to do custom and do a clean installation. Click next. All right, with it finished, go ahead and click close. Now that we have a clean slate, let's go ahead and go over to the 3DVision4All wiki here. So let's go through the side-by-side or top and bottom instructions here, and we'll then branch off and show what different settings you need for AR glasses or SR displays. All the instructions you need for those specific displays are in the links here. You don't need to go to side-by-side, top and bottom. So let's talk about the hardware requirements. You're going to need either a secondary display or a EDID emulator or dummy plug. This is the kind that I used here. There's also the option of using a capture card with custom firmware. So here's the overview of the EDID options here. First, 1A is just changing the EDID ID of a secondary display, and that will make it identify as a 3D Vision display to your NVIDIA driver. Part 1B is actually installing all the resolutions and color settings for a 3D Vision display. That's 4K. Now you don't want to do this to an actual physical display, as it could mess up that display. But it's fine to do it to an EDID. Option 2, which we won't cover today, is if you have a EDID device that you can write to. Now you can download this bin file from NTM's project, and that will give you 3DVision on your desktop. It will also act as a Blu-ray 3D, HDMI 3D, FramePack 3D compatible display for a PS3 or an Xbox 360, a PS4. So you can then take those through a capture card and display them in 3D on your computer. And the last option here is overriding the Windows driver completely. And this is the path you need for interlaced displays, but you don't necessarily need it for this simpler method we're going to cover. So let's jump in with 1A. And if you don't already have it, you need to download Crew from this forum post here. You'll just grab this guy here and extract him. I'm just going to go where I already have it extracted. Okay, so let's run Crew. So with Crew open, we're going to first cover using a secondary display. So in this case, I'm going to use this Dell monitor here and make it act like a 3DVision interlaced display. So we're going to click Edit here. And we're going to paste in this ID here. I'm going to copy it from the instructions. Paste it here. And click OK. Then click OK here again. Now we need to go back to our Crew folder and find Restart 64 and run it. Click Yes. This resets the NVIDIA driver so that it will detect the monitor as a 3DVision monitor. I'm going to close this. And now if you're using a secondary display, you're going to skip over these other ones here. We're going to come to the 3DVision installation. So we're going to go to the 3D Fix Manager page here. Scroll down. And we'll just download this version 187. I'm just going to create a new folder here. You can put it wherever you want. All right, and we're just going to extract everything here. Let me close this. All right, then we're going to run 3D Fix Manager. Granted admin. Takes a minute to load as it's scanning your directories for games. Okay, we're going to go to this drivers folder here. And you'll see nothing's installed. So we want to install the 3D driver here. Alright, it's going to ask you if you want to load a backup profile. I'm just going to click no. I'm going to turn on 3D. Okay. Now 3D has been activated, but it may not be in the right mode. Now you'll also see this video driver here. This only works on old RTX 20 series GPUs or older. And this is if you want to play DirectX 11 games in 3DVision, but you don't need that as you can use Geo 11. At the bottom here, you'll see your computer type, and we don't need the IR emitter for this. If you get prompted for doing a 3D setup, just choose the quick setup, as the setup wizard is often broken. Now let's take a quick look at the settings here under the NVIDIA 3D settings. Scroll down a bit. And these are the hotkeys that you will use for 3DVision. Control T turns it on and off in game. Control F3 and Control F4 increase or decrease the depth. Control F5 and F6 are the decrease, increase convergence. And then Control F7 saves those settings to the game profile. Now an important note is that you need a NVIDIA profile for a game with the stereo flags set for it. If you are launching it from 3D Fix Manager, it can do a lot of these things for you. But if you need to do it manually, you need to download NVIDIA Profile Inspector. And you can reference Bob's profile guide here on the different settings that you can utilize. We're also not going to cover setting up the driver for DX10, 11, and 12. Just know that you need an older GPU and pretty old drivers that cause issues with modern games. Alright, so now that we've got the main 3D set up, let's minimize that. We're going to right click our desktop and go to NVIDIA Control Panel. Agree and continue. And we'll go over to our Setup Stereoscopic 3D tab here. Now you'll see this is showing up as 3DVision Discover, and that's because your main monitor is what determines what type of 3D vision you have available. So in this case, we need to make our secondary display, see here, as our primary. So we're going to set this as our primary monitor here, and you can see in NVIDIA settings that's switched to Acer Passive 3D LCD, and that's what you want to see. Now you also need to make sure that your secondary display that you're going to be using as a 3D Vision monitor proxy is the right resolution and the right orientation. You have to be in landscape mode or it won't be recognized as a display that could run 3D Vision. So we're going to choose the matching 1920 by 1080 here and find our mouse. Your mouse will always jump back over to your primary monitor and click Keep Changes. Okay, now we're going to minimize this. And just a quick note, if you need to move something from one display to another and you can't see it, you're going to press Windows, Shift, then left or right. Alright, now we're going to the shader glass installation. You can either find it on Steam for free or you can manually download it from GitHub. I'm just going to install it from Steam here. Alright, and then we're going to click the gearbox here, go to Manage, and Browse Local Files. Now we're going to go ahead and grab this location here, copy it, and go back over to our guide. Now we need to download this interlaced to else sling shader here. We're going to right click it, save link as, and we're going to paste in that shader glass path and save it here. Alright, let's go ahead and launch shader glass. It's going to pop up on your main display, so to bring it over we're going to have to click it once, twice, and then Shift, Windows, and then an arrow key. And you'll see it's set up to clone mode by default here. Alright, let's go back to our instructions. And we need to select input, pixel size as x1. Then we need to set shader, import custom, and choose the interlace to else. And then if you need to, once the shader is loaded, you can go to shader parameters and you can either swap eyes or you can change the output mode to be top and bottom instead of side by side. Now that's useful for VR in particular because that gives you the most resolution, as the way the interlace shader works is it takes every other horizontal line and makes it for your left or right eye. So we're always getting half the vertical resolution, and then if we are using side by side, we're also getting half horizontal resolution. So you're only getting a quarter resolution if you use side by side. But side by side is necessary for SR displays and AR glasses. Now we're going to go ahead and do processing and set as default profile. And we can go ahead and close this out. Now to run a game, you need to make sure, again, that your secondary display or your EDID is set as your primary display. Use 4K to get the most resolution, but you can do any resolution you like as long as it matches the aspect ratio of your 3D display. And of course we need to make sure that 3DVision is enabled and set as the Acer passive 3D LCD, and depending on the game that you're running, you need to make sure it has a 3D fix installed. A great way to install a 3D fix is through 3D Fix Manager. So I'm going to use Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons here. I'll just uninstall real quick and click install again. It takes care of a lot of the stuff behind the scenes for you. And then we'll just click Play 3D. Now it should launch on your secondary display or EDID. And if you're looking at a secondary display, you should see it looks like kind of a comb filter if the 3D activated properly. So let's take a look here. So the game is now running. So I'm going to have to Alt-Tab to go back over to Steam. And we're going to launch Shader Glass. And again, we have to click it once, twice, then bring it over. And then we need to choose Shader, make sure that we have our Interlace 2Ls loaded up. And then we need to choose Input, Window, and we're going to choose Brothers in this case. Now it's normal to get a black screen here because it's been minimized. DX9 games are all full screen exclusive for the most part, so they only show if something's full screen. So we're going to do Control-Shift-G to make Shader Glass full screen, and then Alt-Tab back over to Brothers. And it'll take a moment. There we go. And now you can see that we've got a side-by-side output of a 3DVision game. We'll go ahead and press Enter. So now that the game's running in 3D, we can use Control-Alt-Insert to hide that 3DVision notice. And of course you can use your hotkeys of Control F3, Control F4 to increase or decrease the depth, and then Control F5 and F6 to increase or decrease the convergence. Now we're seeing some weirdness here. Let's check our settings, video options. Doesn't have in-game resolution. Yep, so this ran into an issue where my secondary display is a different aspect ratio, and so it automatically adjusted to that resolution instead of sticking to 1080p. So you may have to disable certain resolutions on secondary displays if they don't match your aspect ratio. We'll go ahead and quit the game and press Control-Shift-G again to minimize shader glass, and we'll go ahead and close it. Sometimes you may get a game that loads up in the wrong aspect ratio, or it may just show corrupted video. So you may just need to go in and adjust the resolution in the game to get it to fix itself. Even if it already says the right resolution, you may have to toggle it to kind of force a refresh of the 3D. And that generally will fix any issues. So now let's cover setting up a EDID override for a EDID emulator. So I've plugged one of these guys into my computer, and if we go to our display settings, you'll see we have two displays here, and the second one, in this case, I'm going to set it to 4K. It takes a moment to reset here, and you can see that's our secondary display. That's number one there. So we set it to 4K, but let's go to NVIDIA Control Panel. And under the Change Resolution tab, sometimes you're going to get a EDID emulator that does not have full RGB color at 4K. So we're going to fix that. And then if we look at Setup Stereoscopic 3D, see it's also, we're on 3DVision Discover. So we got to fix that. Alright, so you've downloaded and extracted Crew, and let's run it as admin and click yes. And now we need to choose our EDID. In this case, it's this Me TV. We're going to click Edit, and we're going to change that ID over to this one, and click OK. Now we're not going to exit yet. We're going to download this 4K EDID bin here. I'm going to just throw it in Downloads, Drivers here. It doesn't matter where you put it. Save it. And now we're going to click Import on Crew to our Downloads folder. I put it in Drivers and put it there. Click Open. And I'm going to click OK. Now it didn't apply yet. We need to go down here and run Restart 64. Click Yes. NVIDIA driver is going to reset. Okay, and then we can close this Restart app. Now let's go to our system display settings. Now we need to make our EDID emulator as our primary display. And then to find our mouse, there it is. We go to our NVIDIA control panel. It popped up on the other display. So I'm going to do Shift, Windows, Left to bring it over. And we'll expand it out here. And now this is what you want to see. Acer Passive 3D LCD. So you have to have that fake 3D vision display as your primary to get that. We'll go to Change Resolution. And it's now an Acer Me TV. We're going to scroll down and you can see that it's already at 8-bit RGB, which is what you want. So we'll go ahead and close NVIDIA control panel. Let's cover the setting you need for AR glasses. So we're going to launch Shader Glass. And it's going to load on your second display. So we got to click, Windows Shift, Left. Okay. And now we need to go to Output. We need to set Aspect Ratio Correction to 0.5. And then we're going to go Processing and set as Default Profile. We'll go ahead and launch Brothers again and show you what this looks like. We're going to hit Alt-Tab. And it's going to minimize the game. Then you should be able to bring your mouse cursor back. And we'll go shader glass, input, window, brothers again. It's a bit hard to alt tab to the right thing, so you can also try clicking on the game. Try again. There we go. And now we'll do Control-Shift-G. Sometimes the Control-Shift-G will get blocked by the game. We can see how this is set as full side-by-side here. So with AR glasses, you actually won't lose any of the horizontal resolution, but you're still losing some vertical resolution from the interlaced output of 3DVision. Just to show you, can press enter again and you'll have your display there. Now let's go over the additional steps needed for SR displays. We'll go ahead and click on the SR display link here, and the setup for the EDID and 3DVision are the same. So we're just going to scroll down here until we get to the 3D Game Bridge installation. We're going to go to the Reshade site, and we're going to download the latest Reshade with full add-on support. I'll just save it here. Location doesn't matter. And then we're going to run it. It may pop up on your other display. Just going to bring that over. Windows Shift left. Okay. Alright, now we need to get to our shader glass folder. Manage. Then browse local files. Bring that window over. And we need to select here, copy this, go back to the Reshade setup, click Browse, and at the top, paste in that shader glass. Select shader glass, click Open, click Next, DirectX 10, 11, 12, Next, uncheck all, Next. Now here we need to scroll down and choose 3D Game Bridge. Next, click Finish. Alright, so now it's set up. So now when we launch shader glass, it will try to activate your simulated reality display. Click it twice, bring it over here. If you can't click on anything, click shader glass, close Reshade again with the home key. And we're going to click Output, Window, Solid. And now we should be able to click Home, click Skip Tutorial, and go to Add-ons. You'll see SR Reshade here, and it thinks it's active, but since we're going through a capture card, it's not going to activate anything. And then we're going to close shader glass.